The Moti Group is a leading black-owned private investment company. Home to some of the most exciting and fast-growing businesses in Africa, our diverse portfolio includes interests in mining, property, aviation, logistics, financial products, and more. Led by the dynamic team of CEO Dondo Mogajane and Executive Director Mikaeel Moti, we are proud to be driving economic development across the continent and redefining the role of African businesses on the world stage.
The last time I saw Dondo Mogajane, he was Director General of Finance. Now he's the Chief Executive of the Moti Group. After Zunaid Moti, the founder of the company, stepped down and handed over to Mr. Mogajane June last year, coming up for his first year. We're going to find out how things have been going. Well, I know things have been going pretty hectic because you've just got off a plane from Zimbabwe, Dondo. Dondo, you getting around a bit?
I'm getting around mainly, in the southern part of Africa. I'm trying around and trying many things. The group is trying many things in this part of the world. Yeah.
And going from a big job at Treasury, you were the man who looked after our money as South Africans, to a big job on a rapidly expanding group, controversial group in some ways, but we're going to touch on that in a moment. It's quite a transition. How's it gone in the last year? Was there anything unexpected that hit you, or has it been pretty smooth sailing?
No, the main unexpected was in my own space, because look, I've been at Treasury 23 years, Alec. All I know is public finance. Parliament processes, appropriation bill, all of those. Getting to the business side for me was a shock. I knew what's happening, but it was a shock, a transition, because I had to learn a lot of things. The language is different, the engagements are different. And here am I steering a group that's got potential in many ways, steering a group and addressing a whole lot of challenges that the group may have. So it hasn't been that smooth for me. But I laid low for about 6 months. From June to December, trying to understand the business, trying to scope myself as to where I will start. And so finally I found a niche, and that's why, I can, come into the public domain and say, look, we have to do something, we have to take the group somewhere. And so yes, it's an opportunity for me. I'm broadening my experience, I'm broadening my skills, my engagements outside government. And yes, it was a nice fusion between the public sector and the private sector. And so I'm well positioned to take the group further.
It's so interesting when we have a look at Treasury, because it is this shining star of excellence in the public sector in South Africa. And yet in recent times, quite a few of you guys, top guys, have moved off into the private sector and done well. We're seeing the chaps who went to Standard Bank really making some big impressions there. Do you think that the transition is more difficult than you anticipated?
It is more difficult but in my case, I had an experience when I was still Chief of Staff to Pravin Gordhan. You remember, just after the Gupta scandal and the Nene Gate scandal, we had to engage and put ourselves on an acceleration gear to really make sure that we engage with business, because business had lost almost 400 billion, if you remember, wiped out of the market. So those re-engagements were steered by me on behalf of Pravin, running around, engaging, facilitating meetings. And in that space, I think I gained a lot. It must have been a valuable experience that I gained. And that really positioned me properly, I guess, now for the South African private sector. And the dynamics thereof, I understood there, how to engage with various people. And so I think for me, bridging this gap is going to be very, very interesting. And really bridging the gap that I think in partnering with government, with a small company like the Moti Group is really repositioning what exactly I think needs to be done, and how government must engage with business. Obviously, that will have to come through some way or the other. Yeah.
I'm just going to share my screen because I've got some pictures that I'd like us to talk to. Starting off with the last picture I took of you, which I think you will recognize pretty quickly. It was at in the budget in the budget lockup. You look deep in thought. Or,
Oh, what?
no, you certainly went to sleep.
What?
Very deep in thought there. That's you guys seem to have had quite a big bench, quite a deep bench at Treasury. Although you've departed, and I said quite a number of other guys have. It's almost like Treasury hasn't really missed a beat. As a South African, are you comfortable that the guys you've left behind there are going to look after our money?
I'm very comfortable. I left a group of 10 very competent deputy directors general. At least many of them would have are ready basically to take the position, and it's a matter of time. And how we worked and how I particularly worked in the 5 years. And like I engaged everyone. I had things that I used to call policy group meetings on Monday morning, 7:30. Whether I'm there or not, these engagements happen. What are people going to be doing for the week? What did they do in the last week? What's on my desk as DG? What's urgent? What's not urgent? They work pretty well in terms of knowing what's happening. And I can tell you, if someone had to join, if I had to leave for some reason, like I left now after my contract came to an end, anybody of those 10 people would have taken over, and they wouldn't start from scratch. They would know what to do. They would know when and how to engage. So yeah, I've got a competent group of people. And what was not normally said is that the third layer, the first layer would be your DG, the second layer would be your DDGs. The third layer is your chief directors, the real guys who do the work, the technical work, run around with entities and departments, formulate policy thinking, so that what's executive committee or MENCO, as we used to call it, would engage with. They are there, they are strong, they are young. And I did say towards the end of my term, I did say at the time that, they are not known, but they are experts in their specific fields. And I can tell you, in the Treasury and the way it is, holding everything constant, you've got a team that can really stand the test of time, you don't have to be worried. That's all I'm saying. They are competent people, and South Africans should be very comfortable that you've got a team of good people there, good technocrats who would be able to take the work forward after we left.
So that's the past. This is the current. There's Zunaid and yourself. This was a picture taken from the Moti Group website. Now, when you came in, he left. Is he completely out of the Moti Group now?
Look, the Moti Group is not one company. The Moti Group is a group of companies. There are many, the way the business model is structured, there is that every entity, on its own is a company, and it makes it easy because as a small entity, we mergers and acquisitions are order of the day. Some people just buy into any entity without necessarily the whole group, and then we are able to facilitate business processing like that. He is focused currently on African chrome fields, which in terms of the original arrangements is part of the main Moti Group. And also he's doing some foundation work on the Moti Cares, philanthropic engagements, etc. But the key work that he's focused on is in Zim. Now, you can imagine, from a functional point of view, the functional separation is something it cannot happen overnight. It's going to take time. Institutional memory stuff that I must still lean on him and understanding. And there's also the legal separation, which is almost done, complete. If you look at Moti Group and companies, you will not find Zunaid Moti, you will find Dondo and Mikaeel. You go to bank accounts, you'll find Dondo and Mikaeel, because we separated the business, and we, to an extent, you'll be surprised. Even when sometimes in Zimbabwe, like I said, just told him, I'm from Zimbabwe now. Zimbabwe is on the African hero work that we can talk about later, and also on the lithium side of the operations, the mining space there. He's doing chrome, he's and he's comfortable there. And then for me, we separate. We even travel separately so that we really make sure that we separate our activities. But from time to time, I obviously will call on him and check with him certain things. But I'm happy that he gave me the latitude. That was a condition, by the way. I said, I want to come in. I want to understand the work. I'll understand the work. Once I understand what needs to be done, allow me with a small team of management to create a niche for ourselves and to move. And he's an entrepreneur, but he'll always have ideas. The son is also having ideas, and you cannot completely separate. But from a day-to-day running of the operations, I mean, Mikaeel and I are in charge. We're running the show with a group of management team that's there. And these are just the beginning of a very group that's going to be really, you will start, working full steam in where I want the group to be going.
Your background and where you come from, you have a very good, high reputation. You could hardly have had a better reputation in the South African context than having been DG of finance for 5 years, as you've been. And yet, there's a lot of controversy around Zunaid Moti, most recently when he was arrested, and it was all false. It just seems as though the highest trees sometimes catch the wind. What due diligence did you do on the Moti Group that made you comfortable that you weren't going to go and put your foot into the fire?
Look, everyone is asking that question and say, what's wrong with you? What did you do? What went into your mind? I'm sitting with Zunaid Moti 18 months before I even started setting my foot in his office at the Moti Group headquarters. He's asking me, he's saying, please come and help. From a reputational point of view, from a corporate governance point of view, from just to repositioning point of view, because he says to me, Dondo, I've checked around, I've looked at someone I can trust. I know you did not steal from anybody. I know you've been running a very proper ship at the National Treasury. I had to dig you out and say, please come and help. And also I see someone as a parent who said, I've got kids, I've got number of boys. The oldest is 24 years old. The Moti Group has its own history, started in the 1400s. And we, my children, based on my own past and reputation, are suffering from the sins of their father. That's the language that him and I were speaking. In April last year, ABSA, out of nowhere, closes Zunaid Moti's account and the business. And they also, by the way, close, Mikael's the young boy, even now, recently, his account. And I say, why should Mikaeel, he's just a young boy, why should a 2-year-old son of Moti, they close because of this, beneficial ownership type thing? And I say, please come and help me. My children cannot suffer because I have made someone angry in the system or I have done someone wrong as is perceived. And I say, look, I will come. I'm a parent. I've got a son, who passed on, unfortunately, just after, April last year. I have daughters. I had to sit and say, how then do I, someone is asking me, saying, please. And I say, I look at the business. Are you a criminal? Are you wanted? Are you a drug dealer? No. Are you a fraudster? Are we in fighting with SARS? No. All of these things. And for me, I tick all those boxes and I say, give me the authority to run the business. Give me the authority to help you with this mission and take your son and hold his hand and navigate and run into the continent with the African Hero Project and try and make sense of what good can come out that the Moti Group can do. And I saw it as an opportunity. I said, yes, I'm going to do it. I said, if Zunaid Moti was a criminal, if Zunaid Moti was a money launderer, he would have been arrested today by the Hawks. I didn't pick it up at all. His name was never mentioned to me. And I was happy with the basic due diligence that I did. And what I did, as soon as I started, I said, look, Zunaid, I will speak to the banks. I will speak to ABSA. I will go to Ari Breitenbach and say, Ari, why did you close Zunaid's account? Obviously, they would disclose, they would hide behind confidentiality and so on. But the reality is, I had to find out and say where we've gone wrong, where the Moti Group has gone wrong. I will fix that because I understand compliance. I used to chair a very senior committee in the South African government on anti-money laundering and financing of terrorism. I know what it takes and I know what's needed. I have run a ship that was not going to sink any day. And Zunaid, I'm not going to steal your money at all. I'm an honest guy who thinks that this business can go far, with your son, of course, behind me and with me all the time. And I'm proud to say, I'm doing that now. I'm repositioning the business. I'm repurposing the business. I'm reigniting the business into new opportunities, obviously, that are there. And I'm rebuilding the business. And I will go on and say, Zunaid, you're an entrepreneur. If I have to do this, what do you think? And you say, go for it. If I look at that property, For instance, there's a property called Nondela Drakensberg, the Drakensberg. I mean, because I was busy, I went to Nondela on a helicopter. I said, I went back to the Zunaid, why is Nondela not featuring? Why is it just, he says, it's a long story. I said, no, it's a 2 billion rand investment there, down there. I'm going to resuscitate this. We have to build our hotel. We have to do this. We have to prop up our property sector and make it relevant and real. So for me, I think that's what it is. I mean, I like taking challenges. I've taken challenges in the past. Yes, that's Nondela for you. It's a golf estate, signature, any other signature cost. There's value lying in this property for the business, for the fortunes of the group. I'm resuscitating that. Plans are being drawn. I'm doing great things here. I'm repositioning. I'm reevaluating, and I'm rebuilding.
Yeah, I wanted to put Nondela up there because we drive past it every time we go to the business conference in the Drakensberg. It's a beautiful property, beautiful estate. But before that, there's two guys, Paul O'Sullivan and Peter Hain, who did their due diligence, just like you did, on Zunaid Moti, and they both came up with big thumbs up. Both of them, I've had long conversations with them. So I don't want to say that Zunaid's got a bad rap or that he's squeaky clean or whatever. But if these two guys have given him a clean bill of health, you've given him a clean bill of health, I think we can kind of put that to rest. But I wanted to show you this photograph because you just back from Zimbabwe. There's a picture that I put on the screen here with Zunaid sitting next to the president of Zimbabwe,
yes,
Mr. Mnangagwa. And it is an interesting story, the whole Zimbabwean situation, because there's a country with massive potential, but we've just seen this huge expose by Al Jazeera on how the government is apparently using the gold that is being dug and sent off to Dubai, and it looks very, very murky. How does one do business in a country like that when you have the reputation that you have, and clearly the reputation that you don't want to besmirch it in any means, and yet you get it can't be very easy given all the issues that are swirling around there.
Look, I think firstly, I want us to separate this. I mean, I don't know what occasion was that photograph. Maybe it was one of the government occasions, or it could have been when Zunaid Moti was maybe launching one of his projects at the time back then, and so he had invited the president to be part of the celebrations of opening a new plant, or maybe because remember, we are investors in Zimbabwe. We are business people in Zimbabwe. We're creating jobs. We're paying royalties. And we're paying taxes. So that's something that I think people should not, misconstrue as to what we are all about. And in doing business in Zimbabwe, obviously there are laws in Zimbabwe that we have to respect. There are laws that we have to follow. And second, I must also say, hey, we've got nothing to do with the gold, with the smuggling of gold in Zimbabwe. The Moti Group, even the original Moti Group, was never part of that, of what was happening there. But for me, I think it's important to, I as a DG of the National Treasury, for instance, had met many businessmen in South Africa, big and small in South Africa, where they want to either engage government, understand what government does, and then partner with government where possible. As I said, I was instrumental in also facilitating the what was then called the Save Invest South Africa, Save South Africa campaign that Pravin Gordhan led. Engaging with business as government is a normal thing, and it must be accepted and must welcome that. But of course, where there's wrongdoing and where laws are not being followed, we must again be the one saying, no, if you benefit unduly, if you influence decision making, then it must be dealt with. And I guess that's going to be dealt with. And I guess it's something that we cannot hide and run away from. I am from Zimbabwe right now, as I said to you. I was meeting with the department, with two departments there. And I was saying to these departments, here's a business proposal. It's in line. This is what you want. We're basically looking at my African Hero project on the health side, provision of clinics in rural areas. We're saying, what are the specs? What are the regulations? And for me, that's how I engage. I didn't go and meet the president and say, please sign off this deal or sign off that deal. On the lithium space, and because when I started, it was at the height of the lithium engagements in Zimbabwe. I mean, I was meeting somebody in Zim today who reminded me how tough the discussions were in getting the MMCZ, Mines Minerals Council of Zimbabwe, to sign off and agree with them on what to do. It was tough. Zimbabweans were looking at their own interest. I was looking at the interest of the Moti Group and trying. It's a business deal. So it's normal to engage with the business. It's normal for instance, one of the engagements I had was that we were being requested by our Chinese partner in the lithium deal and say, look, we would want to engage, would want to meet, at least greet the president. We had to arrange through normal channels of arranging a meeting with the Department of Mines, department relevant MMCZ and relevant ministries. And we had an opportunity. I had an opportunity to also meet with the two Chinese counterparts, partners, to meet with Mnangagwa and his team and the Department of Minerals and say, Mr. President, these are the investors that the Moti Group is bringing. They are so-and-so, they are big in the world, they are doing this, they control global market share of battery. They will set up factory in your country, battery manufacturing plant, and we are doing exploration now. Welcome them, thank you. And we left. There's nothing, but I know how to engage governments, and I've perfected that, through my own experience. I'm not about to go and rob the Zimbabwean people of their fortunes as part of the group. So I think that's what we must emphasize, and we must make sure that we know we do what we have to do. Creation of jobs, making sure that local Zimbabweans benefit, and making sure that we benefit as a. You go to Zimbabwe, you pick up. You go to Pick and Pay, you go to Standard Bank, you go to Nando's. All of these South African companies are there. You will find the Moti Group there. It's a South African company. So people should not look at the negative aspects of why we're there and think about the Gupta. The Guptas came in South Africa. We know what they were doing. And now it's quick for people to really say, oh no, we've captured Zimbabwe. What if we're queuing like anybody else in getting the chrome license, export license? Even now, we don't have the lithium license. We're like anybody else. So the reality is that if the group, or if Zunaid at the time, and I'm not speaking on his behalf, he can speak on his behalf, but the reality is that I had to check all of that. Did you bribe your way through? Did you do this? What was it for? Did you engage with the wrong people? All of those things. So, but there's a narrative out there to besmirch the group, and I, as I said to you, I want to bring some relevance of the group. I want to build relationships where they have been broken, and contribute to the company's growth concern. I want to ensure that Mikaeel is recognized for what he is. He's only 24 years. He's just finished his accounting sciences. Brilliant young boy who can really be, he can be the future leader of the group. And I think that's where Zunaid looked at it. He says, look, let there be a break in the Moti, group leadership. Dondo, come in, help this young man. Because in my case, there's a view people out there that are having about me. So for me, I'm helping a new generation of Motis to build their own legacy, and I'm proud to be doing that. And obviously, I'm my contribution, and Zunaid recognizes my contribution. And obviously, I'm working there, and I'm a partner in some of the businesses. It's important that must be recognized. And I've paid my dues in the South African public service, and I'm proud. I've got a proud history that I can look back and say, I've done what I had to do. And I didn't leave because I was angry. I left because I thought, let someone with new energies come and take the National Treasury and government work forward.
Yeah, the national service that you've done, no one can dispute it over 2 decades. But getting back to something that you've mentioned a few times and are clearly very passionate about is the African Hero Project.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us more about how that was formulated, conceived, and exactly what it is.
Look, when Zunaid and I spoke for the first time, he said, hey, there's something called African Hero. I really think there's a need for rural countries in South Africa, in Africa, and everywhere to have access to health. For me, when you give people education and when you give people health facilities and services, that's what they need. And we didn't do anything about it. I was learning the business. I was conceptualizing. I was looking for partnerships. And I've got the model right now. We want to focus on 5 areas in African Hero. Provision of clinics. Mikaeel, in his capacity as Mikaeel Moti, has got a 50% plus interest in a company called Eastern Containers, where they repurpose and remodel the containers. He's in the container business also, a 24-year-old. And we're saying with we can remodel these into clinics. In South Africa, there's a product called Njani Clinics, whereby we started helping them remodel those and they run down this. But we want to take the same concept whereby deep rural areas will provide basic facilities. Because in some cases, it's a dilapidated mud house that's supposed to be a clinic in rural Zimbabwe or rural Botswana, rural South Africa, or rural Mozambique. We want to go in and say, here's a clinic, we'll put air conditioner, we'll put a borehole, we'll staff it, we'll give you medical, we'll maintain it, and obviously government will have to pay for it. And you government must staff it. We'll put staff accommodation, and then provision of health service on a 24-hour basis in rural areas is addressed. And I know we want to roll out 200 of those in Zimbabwe. We are busy engaging with the departments of health, makes sense. Secondly, the school, same principle. We can put up a school of 250 through these containers, modifying and remodeling them. Sports facility, small, again in rural areas, because we know what it takes. Almost maintenance-free type solutions that we come up with. And we're doing a school for free in Zimbabwe, in the area of one of the mines where Zunaid was working. This was done even before I came. We put up something like that. Border control is an issue. Look at the gold. Look at the gold. We can partner with the Zimbabwean authorities and any other authority in the continent, for that matter, to provide border solutions. Partnering with your customs and partnering as a back office type of support. We can do that because it is the extraction of minerals like gold, as it was illegally taken away to benefit other people outside. That is controlled, what goes in and what goes out, and then they can be accounted. So we can come up with a solution like that. Another potential of business opportunity that we think of is around travel insurance. Zimbabwe, and I'll use Zimbabwe because I've studied and because that's my launching pad is, and before I go into other countries. Actually, even after this meeting, I'm meeting some other colleagues from other parts of the continent. The challenge is, currently when you travel now to Zimbabwe, when you fall sick, the Zimbabwean health system must carry you. Travel insurance, mandatory travel insurance is something that we must introduce and help the government. And, I've seen it. We've seen it in our case. We've perfected in South Africa. I've got the necessary experience and necessary contacts and understanding of what needs to be done in helping a country in the southern tip of the continent, including many others around us, especially in the SADC region. There's endless opportunities now, for that, I want to be counted as a Moti Group to have contributed to Africa's development. I want to be counted for the Moti Group to have partnered with ensuring that your ordinary citizens in rural areas are taken care of from a health point of view and from education point of view, and the whole of Zimbabwe benefits. So, because remember, these clinics that are put up are not just going to be once-off clinics. There'll be centers of service delivery in these areas. There's a voting station, because we'll have boreholes there. Many of these rural areas don't even have running water proper. We'll have boreholes. We'll have some community center of some kind whereby it can be seen. So for you and I living in central Joburg or central Pretoria, we think that, but rural people, Alec, are suffering. And I think we have to do something about it. Still benefit as a business, government will benefit, and obviously the populace will benefit to a great extent.
Dondo Mogajane, the former Director General of South African Treasury and now the Chief Executive of the Moti Group, with lots going on. Thanks for sharing with us. And I think we'll be catching up with you again in future. I'm Alec Hogg from biznews.com.
A proud project of the Moti Group, our groundbreaking African Hero initiative is revolutionizing healthcare and education across the continent. Using repurposed shipping containers, we are rapidly deploying modern schools and clinics to communities in need. Equipped with solar power, water filtration, and cutting-edge equipment, our self-sufficient facilities overcome all infrastructure limitations. Join us in creating a lasting legacy and improving lives. Visit the Moti Group's website today for more information.